When people prepare for emergencies, they usually reach for the same trusted survival gear: a flashlight, a lighter, a water filter, a first aid kit, a pocket knife. These tools appear in almost every survival checklist for a reason. They're familiar, affordable, easy to carry, and in most situations, they work exactly as expected. But emergencies rarely happen under ideal conditions. What happens when the temperature drops below freezing? When heavy rain soaks your gear? When the power stays out for days instead of hours? Or when your safety depends on a single piece of equipment doing its job? This is where many survival plans begin to fall apart. The problem isn't that these tools are useless. Far from it. The real issue is that they're often expected to do more than they were designed for. A piece of gear that performs perfectly on an ordinary day can become unreliable under extreme weather. Poor maintenance, heavy use, or simply the wrong conditions. In this documentary, we'll examine 8 survival items that millions of people trust. Explore the situations where they can let you down, and, more importantly, the lessons they teach about genuine preparedness. Survival isn't about owning the biggest collection of equipment. It's about understanding your environment, knowing your tools, and preparing for the moments when conditions stop being predictable. Most survival products are designed to solve specific problems. The mistake comes when people expect them to solve every problem. A compact flashlight isn't a long-term lighting system. A basic first aid kit can't handle every medical emergency. And a pocket-sized water filter can't magically remove every type of contamination. The difference between feeling prepared and actually being prepared often comes down to one thing: realistic expectations. Understanding what your equipment can do is important. Understanding what it can't do is just as important. Throughout this documentary, we'll look at 8 common survival items, why so many people rely on them, where their limitations begin to appear, and what those limitations reveal about real-world preparedness. Fire has been one of humanity's greatest survival tools for thousands of years. It provides warmth, allows food to be cooked, purifies water in some situations, and can offer comfort in difficult conditions. That makes the humble lighter one of the most valuable items many people carry. It's inexpensive, lightweight, easy to use, and capable of producing a flame in seconds. Because of that convenience, many people begin to think of it as a guaranteed source of fire. It isn't. Cold weather can dramatically reduce a lighter's reliability. In freezing temperatures, fuel may not vaporize properly, making ignition difficult or impossible. Wind creates another challenge. Lighter that works perfectly in your kitchen can struggle the moment strong outdoor gusts extinguish the flame. Moisture is equally unforgiving. Rain, heavy humidity, or accidental submersion can prevent some lighters from functioning when you need them most. Even time plays a role. Low-quality disposable lighters can slowly lose fuel while sitting in storage, and repeated use eventually wears down the ignition mechanism. None of this means a lighter is a poor survival tool. In fact, it's one of the fastest and most convenient ways to start a fire. The mistake is relying on it as your only option. Experienced survivalists rarely depend on a single fire-starting method. Instead, they build redundancy into their kit, combining a lighter with waterproof matches, a ferrocerium rod, and reliable fire-starting tinder. If one method fails, another is ready. That's the difference between convenience and preparedness. A lighter gives you confidence. Multiple fire-starting options give you resilience. Once you can create fire, the next challenge is often seeing clearly after the sun goes down. That's why a flashlight is usually one of the first tools added to any emergency kit. Whether you're navigating a blackout, checking damage after a storm, or moving safely through unfamiliar terrain, dependable light quickly becomes essential. But not every flashlight is built with survival in mind. Many inexpensive models are designed for occasional household use rather than harsh environments. Weak batteries, fragile switches, poor water resistance, and limited brightness can quickly become serious. Weaknesses during an emergency. Storage creates another hidden problem. A flashlight placed in a drawer and forgotten for years may appear ready until the day it's actually needed. Over time, batteries slowly discharge, some leak, damaging the internal components and leaving the flashlight completely unusable. Even high-quality lights become temporary solutions if replacement batteries aren't available during a prolonged emergency. That's why experienced preparedness plans focus on sustainability rather than convenience. Alone, durable flashlights, regular maintenance, and routine battery checks make a significant difference. Many people also choose rechargeable models with multiple charging methods, including USB power banks, solar charging, or hand crank systems, giving them additional flexibility when electricity is unavailable. A flashlight isn't simply a tool you buy and forget. Like any important piece of survival equipment, it requires regular attention to remain dependable, because when the lights go out, reliability matters far more than brightness alone. After light and fire, the next priority in almost any survival situation is clean water. Without it, even the best equipment quickly loses its value. That's why portable water filters have become a staple of emergency kits, hiking packs, and disaster preparedness supplies. They're compact, lightweight, and capable of making many natural water sources significantly safer to drink. But there's a common misconception. Many people assume that once water passes through a filter, it's automatically safe. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Every filter is designed with specific limitations. Many portable filters are highly effective at removing bacteria, sediment, and other particles. However, they may not remove chemicals, heavy metals, salt, or certain viruses. The safety of the water still depends on where it came from. A mountain stream may look crystal clear, yet appearance alone reveals very little about what's actually in the water. Invisible contaminants can remain even after filtration. Depending on the surrounding environment, filters themselves also require care. As they become clogged, damaged, or exceed their rated lifespan, their performance gradually declines. One of the least obvious risks appears in freezing temperatures. If water trapped inside a filter freezes, it can expand and create tiny internal cracks. Those cracks may be impossible to see, yet they can allow untreated water to bypass the filtration system entirely. That's why experienced outdoorsmen don't rely on a filter alone. They understand the source of their water, carry backup purification methods when possible, and know exactly what their filter is and isn't designed to remove. Portable water filter is an excellent survival tool, but it's only one part of a much larger water strategy. Few tools have earned the reputation of the survival knife. For thousands of years, blades have helped people build shelter, prepare food, process wood, make tools, and complete countless everyday tasks. Even today, a dependable knife remains one of the most versatile pieces of survival equipment a person can carry. But versatility has its limits. Problems begin when people expect one knife to perform every job. A small folding knife may be perfect for routine cutting tasks, yet struggle with heavier outdoor work. On the other hand, an oversized blade may look impressive but prove awkward for the precise tasks that make up most real survival situations. Quality also matters. A poorly made knife constructed from weak materials can chip, bend, or even break under heavy use. And contrary to what many people assume, a dull blade is often more dangerous than a sharp one. It requires greater force, offers less control, and increases the chance of slipping during use. Appearance can also be misleading. A large, intimidating knife isn't automatically a better survival tool. The best choice depends on the environment, the tasks you'll realistically face, and your ability to use the knife safely and effectively. Ownership is only the beginning. Like any reliable tool, a knife requires regular maintenance. Cleaning prevents corrosion, sharpening restores performance. Proper storage protects both the blade and the user. In the end, a survival knife isn't defined by its size or price. Its true value depends on how well it's maintained and how skillfully it's used. Among all survival equipment, few items reflect preparation more clearly than a first aid kit. Whether treating a minor cut, cleaning a wound, or responding to an unexpected injury, Having medical supplies close at hand can make an immediate difference, yet many people make the same mistake. They purchase a basic first aid kit, place it in a backpack or vehicle, and assume they're fully prepared. Emergencies, however, rarely follow a checklist. A compact kit may contain bandages, antiseptic wipes, and other basic supplies, but it may not include the equipment needed to manage more serious injuries. Time creates another challenge. Medical supplies don't last forever. Adhesives gradually lose their strength, medications expire, sterile packaging can become damaged, reducing its effectiveness when it's needed most. Regular inspections are just as important as carrying the kit itself. Perhaps the biggest limitation, though, isn't the equipment, it's knowledge. Even a well-stocked first aid kit has limited value if the person using it doesn't know how to respond. The right supplies can only help when they're used correctly. That's why even basic first aid training can dramatically increase the effectiveness of the equipment you carry. Skills often matter just as much as supplies. A first aid kit is an essential part of preparedness, but the knowledge behind the kit is what truly turns equipment into capability. Every piece of survival equipment has a purpose, but no single tool can guarantee your safety. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing ownership with preparedness. Owning a flashlight doesn't mean you're ready for an extended blackout. Carrying a water filter doesn't guarantee that every water source is safe to drink. Packing a first aid kit doesn't replace the knowledge needed to treat an injury, and a lighter, no matter how dependable it seems, is never a substitute for a complete fire-starting plan. Real preparedness goes beyond the gear itself. It comes from understanding how your tools work, recognizing their limitations, maintaining them properly, and knowing when to rely on alternative solutions. The most effective survival equipment isn't always the newest, the most expensive, or the most heavily advertised. It's the equipment you've tested, maintained, and practiced using before an emergency ever begins. Because when conditions become unpredictable, experience often matters more than the gear in your pack. In the end, survival is never about owning the perfect tool. It's about making the right decisions with the tools you have. The equipment is only half the equation. The other half is the person using it. If you found this documentary helpful, consider subscribing for more evidence-based survival and preparedness content. And if there's a survival tool you'd like us to examine in a future documentary, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching and stay prepared.